I would like to present to you the Directive on Professional Qualifications, and I'm very grateful to my previous speaker who was already giving to you, I think, many important elements and has set out to you that this is a very large directive covering many, many professionals. In my presentation today, I would like to focus on engineers and the directive. The first thing I would like to leave with you is not that I start with the directive. No, I think I would like to underline with you that apart from doctors, engineers is one of the most international professions in the world. So I've brought together for you some figures which I got from the professions. So the figures you see here are representing the number of foreign engineers in certain countries. So you see Denmark, Germany, Ireland, Sweden very low. You see also the United Kingdom. And you see that in terms of absolute numbers, these are enormous figures. People are moving around. I'm not talking now, for instance, about Germany, but talk about a country like Denmark. It's nearly 10% of the engineers there are coming from abroad. I'm talking there about 10,000 people. So it's really a very international profession. I think the other example which I would like to give to you is the situation of countries sending engineers. And I was putting together to you the figures from Ireland and France. Why? You all know Ireland. Everybody knows Ireland is a country where the Irish are leaving the country. They're going abroad. But now compare this with the figures in a country which does not have a tradition where people are leaving France. So you have actually many French engineers which are mobile inside Europe. 13% of French engineers are working abroad, have worked abroad, and have an international background. Why do I say this to you? I suppose you have lots of discussions here about your education for engineers. Please bear in mind, engineering is a very mobile profession. It is highly international. It is highly international. So whatever you want to do here, please look abroad. Please really look abroad. We were also referring to architects. If you don't mind, architects are not as mobile as engineers. The engineers are mobile, really. That's the first point I would like to leave with you. Now I'm turning a bit to the legal framework. Now, the Professional Qualifications Directive comes in if the profession of an engineer is regulated in a country. Now, if a foreign engineer is coming to Spain, in Spain the profession is regulated. You cannot simply come and say, I'm an engineer, I would like to work here, and that's it. No, you need to have a recognition of your diploma, because Spanish rules foresee you need to have a certain qualification. Otherwise, you can't be an engineer. I'm talking now about the engineers in very generic terms. We know all, we have industrial engineers, civil engineers, but I'm just explaining the principle to you. So if you want, for instance, to go to other countries, you would not need this directive. So if you would go, for instance, to Finland, to France, or to the Netherlands, or to Sweden, there the profession is not regulated. So actually, you find there an employer, and here you are. It's just it. But if you would like to go to Germany, or to the United Kingdom, or to Italy, and you say, I would like to get there either a recognition of my title, or I would like to get really full access to the profession, then the directive becomes for you relevant. So, and the other point I would like to leave with you is this is the directive which helps people who are looking for a job or seek business opportunities. So someone who wants to work in the industry, or someone who is working like an engineer consultant and is working in the construction sector running projects abroad, and finds this issue about recognition of my qualification. We're not in the world of recognition of diplomas between universities. The next point I would like to leave with you, in contrast to the architects, we have no harmonization of the engineers' professions in Europe. So it's a case-by-case analysis. If you move around, you have to live with the differences across countries. That's the starting point. Architects are different. And we have for this a directive, which my previous speaker was already referring to, and a good European bureaucrat always gives you a number if you're looking for the exact number if you go on Google. That's this number, and then you find it. Now, as my previous speaker was already indicating to you, we have now a provisional agreement on a major modernization of this directive. Why have we done so? It is not only to help citizens, but it is really also to take account of the situation in member states, because we have rarely seen a situation where people are adapting to the economic situations in various countries. There is a need for engineer in Germany, there's a need for engineers in the Netherlands, there is a need for engineers in Finland. People moving to this country because there are jobs. Maybe in 5 years they're going back. But if there are no jobs in your country, they're moving around. So the whole economic situation is there. Therefore, this directive or the modernization was really desperately needed to facilitate this. We hope to get a final agreement in September, October. It depends now on the Parliament, on the Council. And then this directive should have been implemented in 2014, 2015. So you should expect vivid debates in Spain how to transpose this now into Spanish law in the next 2 years. I think my previous speaker has given to you already an outline about major reforms for certain professions. Therefore, I would like to limit myself to 3 aspects, because I think they're all going to be important. The first one will be important in terms of process, and it might be a challenging dialogue coming up. The second point is just an explanation, which should help you a bit to consider your education system. The third one is something which has already been raised, that's the European Professional Card, a practical tool to help mobility. Now, let me start with the first one. There's a strong feeling across Europe that we have too many regulated professions in Europe. It's a system grown over centuries, over decades. And I have to say, this push is not coming from the European Commission. This push is coming from the member states. This push is coming from the European Parliament, who say, we have here complicated rules where we try to help people if they seek access to a regulated profession. But we have never asked, do we need all these regulated professions? I think that's going to be an important debate for engineering in Spain. Because we are conscious, if we compare Spain with many other countries, you have a high degree of regulation here. If you allow me, if you look to a neighboring country, France. France has the recognition of being a highly regulated country. On engineers, they have nothing. There's no regulation whatsoever. And people wonder, there's no regulation whatsoever, there's lots of regulation in Spain. So the question is just why? Not what to do, but why? Because we're all in an economic situation, and don't worry, they have cut my salaries in the last weeks as well. There are big deals coming up with lots of protest, but everything get looked at. So that's going to be an important agenda to see why do member states regulate all these professions. And they should provide a justification. I'm underlining the next and the last point is, this is not that Brussels is shooting now at Madrid. It is a dialogue. Because everybody feels, I think we need to go back to the drawing board. Why do we have so many regulated professions? Just look at it, do a proper screening, and think about it. This we want to do together with the member states, and we want to do it in partnership. But it will have an influence also in the debate here in Spain. It is very serious, it is sensitive, we have nothing against good professions, we have nothing against good regulation, but it's a serious exercise. And everybody feels we need this, not only for Spain, for many countries. Another point which I would like to leave with you, and maybe it's less relevant for the engineers in the future, but it's good to bear it in mind. It is this principle of our partial access, and the previous speaker was also mentioning it. Partial access is a very legal concept, but it was coming from a case in Spain. It was a British engineer seeking access to the profession in Spain, and it was getting impossible. And it was the Spanish competent authorities who submitted the case to the big court in Luxembourg, to the Court of Justice in Luxembourg, the European Court, saying, can we grant partial access to the engineering profession? So British engineer would not carry out all the activities as a Spanish engineer, but certain activities. We have had very difficult debates, and what we want is just that member states clarify the framework and they have the right to say no to a partial access. So there is no automatic partial access. People have the right to say no to partial access if there are good reasons. Why do I raise it with you? Partial access is an exception. It's a derogation. It's something where something didn't work. And I would like to draw your attention that we get European rules because on the engineering professions in Spain, something didn't work. So you've seen there was a case in Spain which has had a big impact on Europe. You have the framework for the engineering now already in place, but I wanted just to show it to you. Let me come now to the third point. That's the European professional card. I'm just presenting you one slide, don't worry. The European professional card should facilitate the recognition of diplomas. So a Spanish engineer who wants to go to Italy and wants to get access of his diploma, this card should help. A Spanish engineer who wants to go to Germany would like to get his recognition as a title and to say, I'm now a German engineer, this directive should help. A Spanish engineer who wants to go to the UK or wants to get also the recognition to say, I'm now a UK engineer, this card should help. As I told you, if you go to France or Belgium, no need, because there's a profession that's not regulated. I think the FIANI card was already introduced. This European professional card is a bit different, but as I think the previous panel has already highlighted, the engineering profession is highly interested in this card. It is an electronic certificate. It will be an electronic workflow, and we would like to get out of this paper flow which migrating workers are currently facing. Currently, you submit a complete file, you translate everything into Italian or into English or into German, and you submit this in papers, and we would like to change this. This should be an electronic device. And at the end, you should be able to get an electronic certificate which you can download somewhere from a website. And you can download it from the website, maybe together with the FIANI card. We have to discuss this, but the competent authorities have arranged it in an electronic workflow for you. This should go faster, and I think the big thing what we have achieved, and there are many thanks to the European Parliament, we've had always the dilemma about deadlines. You submit a file, you apply, and you want to have an answer. And this is a burning issue, because if you're looking for a job, the employer keeps telling you, now, where are you? Is the decision taken, yes or no? And I'm conscious, we have had this about Spaniards also in the architects world in the past recently with London. We were working quite a lot. And the people had a job and there was no recognition because the competent authorities did not decide. They've had deadlines, but they did not respect the deadlines. Now what we want to have in future, they have deadlines, but if they do not respect the deadlines, there will be a system which makes click and your diploma is recognized. And that's a huge difference. That will have a major impact on the administrations. If you go to the UK, if you go to Germany or Italy, it would mean to them they have to act, they have to give you a decision, because if they don't give a decision, it makes click and your diploma is recognized. And that's a big change. It looks very soft, but it's going to be a big change. But to have this, we need to have a very robust European professional card. We'll need implementing rules in this regard. And we have to work it out for the profession. Now, the engineers have already expressed interest, so you're quite high in our agenda. Therefore, also I'm coming to Madrid to tell you you're quite high on the agenda. We have to discuss this now with the member states. We have also to get support from the parliament, but the engineers are here, so we can do something for you in very concrete terms in terms of mobility. It's also open for other professions, architects if they want, but I think it's really something very concrete. I'm coming to my conclusions and I'm conscious that I'm too long. So the first thing, to sum up my conclusions, I started with an outline about the engineers are a very international profession. But how you take account of it, this is a Spanish debate, it's about education. We do not intervene on that. But please take into account, you engineers are really international. And if you would like to change something, bear this in mind. For people who are going and for people who are coming. Because I've shown you the other figures. If you compare them with figures in Spain, migration to Spain and from Spain is very, very low. It is surprising compared to other countries. It's very low. And you're all young people, I see young people, and you have the potential. But it's up to Spain to decide on how to devise its education. The second point is we will have a discussion with Spain about the regulation of the engineers. That's going to come, and we are waiting for good justification from Spain. What is regulated? Why is regulated? Because you do not regulate only the title, you go much further. The third one is, it's an offer. It is a European professional card, which we offer to you. We need to work it out technically, but we need support now from the profession in this regard. And I'm coming now to an end, and I'm conscious that I'm too long. The last thing, you see my email address, and we're looking forward a little bit to the European elections, which are in May next year. And we are going to organize online debates as from the end of September, collecting ideas. And there will be a week between the 23rd and the 27th of September. It's just a week where we want to have online debates in countries, and the subject would be the right to work abroad. If you're interested, send me an email. We'll put you into an address list, and you can think about ideas, because we need to filter ideas into a big online debate starting end of September. Many thanks for your attention.